Stunned, speechless for a minute, Baxter admired the sight with a grin. Then came the phrase.
Bravo!
Hallie, I must admit that I'm equally impressed and surprised. I had no idea that you even had an outfit of that caliber on hand. I learned from the best. That managed to surprise me yet again. So you added a teasing nudge with your elbow. Baxter shook his head, but struggled to contain his amusement. Are you secretly judging me right now?
Never.
Sakes. Are you secretly judging me right now? Because who are you to judge another person for bringing fancy clothes on vacation? Because who are you to judge another person for bringing fancy clothes they might not need on a vacation?
Never.
I would never. Criticize me all. Act like there might be a surprise for Criticize me all. Act like there might be a surprise red carpet event on. Criticize me, or act like there might be a surprise red carpet event on the beach. At the beach. Baxter dropped his face into his palms and laughed at your remarks. Slowly, he rolled his head to the side and peeked at you. Both. And you're stunning. I have such a handsome boyfriend. Baxter proudly smoothed the front of his suit and then took a sweeping bow. One of my proudest accomplishments, if I say so myself. He idly adjusted the cuffs on his suit jacket. Your eyes followed that movement. I've been told the status of attention grabber. Automatically, you glanced up and caught the gentle curve of his smile.
So?
Shall we go? Time to paint the town red. I can certainly work with that plan. On that note, the two of you left the apartment behind and gallivanted off into the city. It was exhilarating to run off with a warning. To who knew where with Baxter Ward by your side? You felt all of 18 years old again. You had no idea until just now how deeply you missed us. The engine cut off, and Baxter's latest mystery location was unidentifiable, closing the car door. What you could see was a small, empty lot, and a few street lamps keeping it lit. This lot sat a huge building, but from the spot you had no way of knowing what could be inside. The back was entirely non-distinct, just an imposing white wall. Here we are? Yes. There's a door ahead. Baxter led you away from the car, towards the back door you had missed entirely in the shadows. You opened it with a little effort and stepped inside. Perplexed, you stood there, and stared into the dark void Baxter disappeared into.
Come on.
Right this way. You could kind of see his arm in the doorway, and Baxter motioned you to follow. You had anticipated by being surprised by where he was taking you, but this was way more unusual than his usual fare. Following inside, you struggled to see anything without the tiny rays of light filtering through the doorway. Baxter still found your hand and began leading you forward. No explanations were offered. Instead, Baxter acted under the assumption that you would finally come with him. And he was right. Baxter went ahead with confident steps. Trusted him enough to believe this wasn't a mistake. Wherever the two of you were, he at least knew the pitch-black hallway. He found precisely where to reach to open another door. In the new black void, you caught faint echoes of your own footsteps, dropping by his side. Next to you, the door felt like glass into your fingertips. Baxter lightly squeezed you, then he let go. Wait here, please. I'll get the lights. There's nothing else to do. Listening closely, you could hear Baxter's steps bounce around the presumed open space, he strolled ahead. Around the presumed open space as he strolled ahead. He moved farther and farther away until you could hear a click of multiple switches being flipped. Several rows of lights zapped on in succession. Lights flashed to their full brightness and blinded you. Shielding your face, you were bags moving in your direction.
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, I should have warned you. Are you alright? Squinting your blurry sight gradually adjusted. You finally got an idea of where you were. A big, nearly empty room with a shiny tiled floor. It was strange seeing something familiar about the picture. Almost like you'd seen this woman before. That was it! You had seen her before. Specifically in the photos Scott and Jude sent before their wedding. This must have been where they practiced with Baxter. Is this your work building? Correct? Baxter revealed. The ring of keys hooked around his finger and spun it. His expression impish. If we're being technical, we're long closed for the day, and I happen to have the keys. That's perfect! No crowd, no interruptions. The two of you had your own private place to simply have fun together. I thought as much, too. I'm allowed to visit here any time, even when customers are not.
Of course.
What if I need to access a file in the office? Weddings, as you know, are a juggling act of many moving pieces. The difficulty would only increase if the work fell exclusively within a window of set hours. Yeah. A single wedding was chaotic enough, but planning them as a career could easily be more than a full-time job. You'd have to be ready to tackle needs and demands whenever they hit. Exactly. The higher powers that we understand what we do what we must. I can come and go from the building as I please.
Honestly.
Though, bringing a date here is not entirely an accepted reason for coming. And personally, I'd say this still counts as a job adjacent. You're helping me to maintain my professional dancing form. The owners are highly understanding.
See?
And excuses are only necessary if we're caught, which might not even happen. Mischief twinkled in his eyes. He seemed so certain in his abilities that you had to believe Baxter would never be taken to a task for the stunt. There was no way you could have predicted this situation if you tried. Baxter Ward was an enigma. Hummel and Liz were right to threaten to call the cops. You're a criminal!
Maybe.
Only in a sound light. 1 moment, please. Holding up a single digit, Baxter politely dipped his head, and then went to the counter by the far wall. He was messing with something there, but you couldn't tell what while he walked to the center of the room. Soon, you'd have a dance together. Already lost in thought, and imagining a song, you tapped your foot and spun on your toes. A few snickers bubbled out from the silliness. Your meals were sharper than ever. You're ready to blow Baxter's expectations out of the water. The light steps you had at the wedding couldn't compare to what you could really do. Music began playing, and Baxter promptly returned to the room. He hummed along with the melody. Baxter placed a hand across his heart.
You know.
As you know, I enjoy a nice waltz around the room. However, I'm not a one-trick pony, and I'm not selfish enough to only want to stick with my expertise. Is there any particular style you prefer? I could teach you anything you have in mind to the best of my ability. Or vice versa if you know better. I'm open to experimentation. Honestly, I love to waltz. Baxter's face brightened gloriously.
Gladly.
I love nothing more. With that, Baxter showed you a remote you'd never seen before. The question bounced on the tip of your tongue, but your gaze trailed towards the back room, and the answer struck. It was obvious when you realized the sound system was hiding behind the counter, and he must have grabbed the remote when he was there. And Baxter swapped the music tracks until he found something that was sufficiently waltz-esque. Then he slipped the remote into his jacket pocket. My god. It is so clear as day to whose hand is whose at this point. So wow. Also, that is just a really weird way to hold someone's hand in the waltz, but then again, I never really danced before. I mean, if all four fingers and a thumb is there, then it should be fine. I hope. I don't know how many drawings they had to do of every single image that required two hands or something like that. Just for our character to be included. Like the different skin tones, scars, no scars, etc., etc. And that's gotta be a lot of images. Like a proper gentleman, Baxter extended his hand to you, and you gladly took it. Baxter gradually tightened his grip. He was searching for a sign that you were ready to begin. He answered him with a happy nod, and he pulled you up to his chest. He knew enough to tell how entirely unnecessary to begin with your bodies brushing together. You knew enough to tell how entirely unnecessary to begin with your bodies brushing against each other. But you also knew you wouldn't want anything different. The waltz went smooth and romantic, as if the dancers were floating in air. It wasn't hard to understand why Baxter loved it so much. He moved elegantly and brought you along every step of the way. Since there was only the two of you, the room size worked beautifully. A waltz, as a traveling dance, required space in order to perform be performed comfortably. Both of you fell into a harmonious step right off the bat, and together, your combined pace and poise made for a spectacular show, despite the lack of an audience. Then, the music shifted. The conclusion of the current song was in the horizon, and you knew this was going to be the conclusion. As the song came to an end, you both came together. It was as if the melody was pushing you towards one another. You moved closer, and so did you. For the final notes, you were standing mere inches apart. Your eyes stayed locked on one another. Your breathing was heavy. The music's end left you both suspended in the silence. Baxter's gaze was distracting enough that you almost missed when he cupped your face, his thumb tenderly brushing your cheek. The skin felt electrified under his touch. He moved slowly at first. But then, his lips rapturiously pressed into yours, sliding your arms past his neck. You curled your fingers in his hair and deepened the kiss. You had hoped that you would have the chance to witness Baxter this happy again, a million more times. Thanks for the dance, my good sir. Placing your hand to your heart, you dipped your head politely. Baxter's mouth rolled into a far too pleased smile.
My pleasure.
It was my pleasure.
Bravo!
You danced beautifully, Callie. You knew it was time to let go of Baxter. But you really didn't want to. And he also struggled with the same dilemma. It didn't help that the room felt strangely different now that the music was off. There was so much calm after the storm, even if it was the good kind of storm. Standing backwards, Baxter made sure there was enough room, and then gave you a grand bow. He stared up at you from between the strands of his bangs before standing straight again. Might I get you a drink after so much exhaustion? From where? There's a water cooler right at the back. He didn't even need to check. Baxter nudged his head towards something past his shoulder. Leaning You peeked past him and spotted it instantly. Oh. Yeah, what it would be great. His lips pressed into a sweet smile. And then, Baxter turned on his heels.
I can do that.
The order's going up. Baxter sauntered to the water cooler and fetched you both something to drink. A minute later, he passed you a full cup of water. He tilted his head back to swallow a large sip. He brought the cup down again, and he combed his weave of bangs to the side with his other hand. Now we could continue standing here, but there's somewhere better we could rest our feet. But you gotta follow me. At this point, I'm a Jonathan. Bring it on.
Lovely.
Wonderful. Baxter casually dropped off the remote at the counter and shut down the music system completely. Leaning against the glass door, you waited for him to finish. Then, he left that room behind, traveled down a different hallway. Now that Baxter wasn't maintaining a mystery, he switched on several lights along the way. It was almost comical how the two of you were tiptoeing through a closed business. Glancing at the clock, it was already pretty late, and that at this point you doubted that anyone was going to discover this mystery. Taking your drinks for the trip, Baxter brought you to a much more familiar spot. He swung the door open with extra confidence. Welcome back to my office, Callie. Make yourself at home. Walking into the center of the room, you did a spin to inspect everything in sight. Pivoting, you then turned towards Baxter. You know, I thought I'd never see this place again. That's understandable. It was touch and go for a while, wasn't it? Baxter flicked a hand as he walked and talked, went straight for the couch and settled down on it. He immediately got comfortable by stretching his legs and slinging his arm along the back. The whole time, his gaze rested on you. You sat next to him. Lowering into the cushion, you situated Baxter's arm under your head. It was nice. Baxter cozied closer to your side, and he hummed happily as he did it, too. The re-establishment of warmth between the two of you gave you goosebumps. I never get to do this. Relaxing even further, Baxter idly ran his free hand along the purple fabric. How strange being on this side of the room. Yeah. If you could design your own ideal wedding, what would the theme be? Baxter sat up a bit straighter and readjusted himself comfortably on the couch cushion. He contemplated your question carefully. Something warm, yet not glaring, would be nice. Natural, not overdone, or entirely sterile. Though I'd prefer it to be indoors. I wouldn't want to risk the chance of rain. Not even in California. I've seen far too many special days dampened by that. He tapped a finger on his chin. Imagine rich purples, deep browns, less garish red tones, or possibly. He smiled mischievously as he closed your eye.
Oh, yes.
A black and white formal, keep it traditional. Baxter lightly covered his mouth, but he added one final statement. Decisions. It's so hard to pick. And then you both laughed at how silly his indecisiveness was. If he was getting married, the event would no doubt be incredible. Whatever style he went with. He crossed his legs and gradually lost his polite demeanor with the one. Polite demeanor for a coy one. With that said, why would you ask me, Callie? Oh, you know, for future references. Baxter's entire demeanor brightened. He was halfway ready to grab a notepad and start jotting down the details. Is that so? Do you have anything else in mind you wish to ask? For future references, of course. Not right now. No.
Fine.
Fine, but keep me up to date. Baxter let you off the hook completely. The sparkle in his expression didn't fade, though. Baxter plucked the cup he brought with him off the table, and took another sip. Slowly, he lowered it, and let out a wistful sigh. Thanks for indulging me tonight, Callie. This has been the most fun I've had in... I don't know how long.
To be honest,
I do now know I want to dance again outside of work. Myself. I'm sorry for brushing you off about this topic before. In a way, I fell out of love without passion. It became tedious and unsatisfying to do it with complete strangers, and I didn't have enough hours in the day to dedicate a long-term competitive partner. And I didn't have enough hours in the day to dedicate to a long-term competitive partner anymore. But perhaps I should have tried harder to not give it up entirely. And Baxter leaned an elbow on the arm of the chair, and rested his cheek against his knuckles. Mouth twitched. How embarrassing. Even my choice of hobby revolved around having a serious understanding relationship with someone else. The precise matter I've had a lifetime struggle to obtain. I don't think my 8-year-old self was trying to make the statement when he decided that this activity was worth pursuing. But still, it's quite big. I miss being able to dance with you. The harsh crease of his brow softened considerably. He held your gaze for a prolonged moment.
I missed you.
I missed it too. After all that, you're completely at ease with being together with Baxter. You're completely at ease being together with Baxter. Being pressed against him, you took in Baxter's cologne with every breath. Scents could have a long-lasting impact on someone's mind. They lingered in different ways, but no less powerful than sights or sounds. And right then, that scent was rousing all memories of Baxter. Wrapping yourself around him in a dark hotel room far from home. It was similar, but not the same. Just like the situation you found yourself in was different from the scene you were reflecting on. Before, Baxter's cologne was almost old-fashioned in how perfumed and heavy the smell was. These floral notes were fresher, sharper, and there was an undercurrent of spice. A mature scent for a gentleman, of sorts. For a time, you rested on the couch, saying nothing at all, and only listening to the beat of your lover's heart. But the idea of relaxing crossed into the risk of falling asleep while breaking and entering. You and Baxter decided to sit up properly again. It wasn't long before you both finished the last drops of your water, and tossed paper cups into the office trash bin, sadly rubbing his shoulder, and Baxter released a satisfied breath.
Well,
We should go. If we linger here too much longer, I'm afraid operating hours might begin while we're here. That would be difficult to explain. Oh yeah, good idea. I purposely chose to do this route, so I went and do a bit of a other topic. Although I do much enjoy doing that one in my own time. I will not be doing that for YouTube. It brought you down the same path. Baxter and you turned off lights as you went along. Once you reached the parking lot, you waited for Baxter to lock the building. After a delightful enough to rival the wedding itself, you and Baxter finally returned home. You stepped quietly through the lobby, not tiptoeing. Your feet were too sore and heavy to do that. Goosebumps lingered on your skin from the rush of your excitement, but the exhaustion crept closer and closer as you neared the last destination of the day. By the time Baxter was closing his apartment door behind you, you were ready to collapse to the finish line. It felt good to be back.
Thank you.
Well, I must thank you for a truly incredible time, Callie. I'll keep you only a moment longer. Your drooping eyelids lifted. Had more up his sleeve? Oh boy, what for? The sign of interest was awfully encouraging for Baxter. His smile pulled too wide to be considered purely polite.
You know.
There is something to consider. On one hand, I do have a pleasant, fully furnished guest room. It's sensible to make use of it. But on the other, Baxter lifted a hand up in your general direction. Naturally, the motion was completely nonchalant. Nothing usual happening here. The master bedroom is, frankly, superior. I would say it being polite to not even offer the space to my partner. You narrowed your gaze again. But it wasn't out of sleepiness. That proposition required a sufficiently limited look. You're asking me to spend the night with you?
Oh, yes.
Exactly.